The first thing that always comes to mind when I think about collecting is how it reminds me that time never stands still. These are moments that have passed, and the more I collect, the more often I catch myself realizing just how long it's been. Whenever I read an old magazine or watch a little retrospective and I see those years printed there, 1998, 1999, I always think, that's not that long ago. But then it hits me. We're already a quarter of a century into a new millennium, and this game here, it's from the last one. That's not a bad thing, but it feels strange, because when a game is from 1999, we're now closer to the year 2050 than to its release date. And honestly, that's kind of spooky. Where did all that time go? Just a moment ago, the pandemic was still happening, and now everything feels different again. And then there's this other thing, value. You can't really escape it on YouTube. I wish I could just enjoy my collection without thinking about how much all of this is worth. But sometimes I can't help it. I look at a game that's still sealed, and I think, if I open it now, it'll lose value. Or I see something I spent a lot of money on and tell myself, I should finally play this. But deep down, I know I won't enjoy it. And yet, it stays. Because, well, I'm a bit weird that way. Of course, I could make videos like how much is my collection worth. They'd do fine. But I don't want that. I don't want to take that innocent childhood feeling, those memories of simpler times, and turn them into something about money. Because at some point, you look at your shelf and think, that's worth a lot, and that, and that. But if your heart's no longer in it, the magic's gone. And honestly, a game collection doesn't really work as retirement savings anyway. And then there's YouTube itself. This huge retro community. So many people talking about old games, analyzing, reminiscing. I love it. But it's dangerous too, because every time I watch a video, I think, oh, that looks interesting. I want to try it. And that list just keeps growing. Sometimes I feel like I have FOMO, the fear of missing out. That's probably why I barely touch modern games anymore. I can hardly keep up with the past as it is. Sure, I could just stop watching videos. But please, at least keep watching mine, okay? Because otherwise, this would be a pretty lonely hobby. Without other creators, without your comments, without this back and forth, it wouldn't be about sharing a passion or a bit of nostalgia anymore. It would just be managing stuff. And that's not what I want. Finding that balance between helpful and harmful isn't always easy. And then there's the big one, the elephant in the room, space. Let's be honest. Having a dedicated game room is a luxury. A lot of people just don't have that kind of space. And I know that if too many little creatures ever join the household someday, this room would probably have to go. I try not to think about it, because losing a collection again, that thought really hurts. Because this stuff needs to go somewhere. And somehow, it always grows. You think, just one more game, it'll fit. And suddenly, the shelf is full. So you get another one, thinking, that'll last at least a year. And a few months later, it's packed again. I don't even know why. It's like space just disappears. Doesn't matter if it's a DVD or a big box, it all adds up. And then I'm standing there, holding a new game, thinking, wait, wasn't there room here a second ago? And when you start stuffing things wherever they fit, it stops looking nice. Then you reorganize, build new shelves, and still run out of room. I recently removed around 100 games, and somehow I still didn't have enough space. And of course, all of this takes time. Collecting can be such a time sink. Not necessarily in a bad way, but you still have to make choices. Do I do this or that? There's work, relationships, a movie night, errands, and somewhere in between, a package arrives. A new game. You're excited. Maybe you even saved up for it. Because you're an adult now and you have a budget. You finally buy that rare $300 collector's edition. And then it arrives and sits there. For a week, 2, a month. Because life happens. And when you do have time, it's gone before you know it. If you play more, you have less time to browse. If you browse more, you have less time to play. And the pile of shame just keeps growing. Sometimes I think maybe I should be more organized, more mature about it. But honestly, that would make for a pretty boring YouTube video. So thank you for being here, for sharing this passion with me. Because that's what it's really about. Not the stuff, not the value, but the memories, the stories, the feeling of being a part of something we all grew up with. See you in the next video.